Have you ever smiled? Not because you were happy, but because you chose to be? What if that one small smile had the power to transform your life, your mindset, your energy, your relationships, your future? Welcome to a journey where change doesn't come with noise or chaos. It begins with a quiet smile. Chapter 1. The Spark Behind the Smile. We often wait for life to give us a reason to smile, an achievement, a compliment, a perfect moment. But what if the smile itself is the reason, the beginning, the spark? In a small village, there lived a man who had lost everything: his job, his family, even his health. He walked with heavy steps, eyes glued to the ground, his face carved with sorrow. One morning, a little boy ran past him, looked up, and simply smiled. A pure, effortless smile. It wasn't pity. It wasn't forced. It was a child's way of saying, "I see you." That smile did something strange. For the first time in weeks, the man lifted his head. His shoulders relaxed. Nothing had changed in his reality, but something shifted inside. That smile didn't solve his problems, but it reminded him he was still alive. He was still human. The first principle of this book is simple but powerful. Change begins inside before it manifests outside. A smile, though it may seem small, is a declaration, a quiet message from your soul to the world that says, "I'm not giving up." You see, the mind follows where the body leads. When you smile, even if you don't feel like it, you send signals to your brain that shift your emotional state. It's science, but it's also soul. Smiling isn't denial of pain. It's a form of rebellion against it. It says, "Yes, I'm hurting, but I will not let it define me." So here's the invitation. Don't wait for life to hand you a perfect moment. Create one with a smile. Chapter 2. The Smile as a Seed of Change. Imagine standing in a dark room for so long that your eyes begin to accept the shadows as truth. You forget what light feels like until someone enters with a candle. It's not a sunrise, it's not a floodlight, but that little flame, it breaks the spell. That's what a smile does. It's a small seed, but inside it lives the potential for entire forests of change. In the story of Layla, a young woman consumed by self-doubt and anxiety, every day felt like a quiet war. She wore her exhaustion like armor, afraid to drop her guard. One afternoon, while sitting on a park bench, she watched an elderly woman feeding birds. The woman turned, smiled warmly, and nodded, as if to say, "It's okay to pause. It's okay to be." That smile struck Layla harder than 1,000 lectures or therapy sessions. It didn't fix her, but it cracked the walls she had built around her heart. And in that crack, something new began to grow. The second message of this journey is this: every smile we give or receive is a seed of permission. Permission to feel hope, to forgive, to heal. Smiles are not decorations, they're bridges. They connect souls wordlessly. They remind us that even when words fail, presence speaks. You may not know who needs your smile today, but someone does. And you may not realize how badly you need to give it either. In moments of stress, tension, or loneliness, don't underestimate this small, human gesture. It's not about pretending, it's about choosing a different frequency, a better story. So, when the world feels heavy, start light, smile. Chapter 3. Between reaction and response lies freedom. Have you ever caught yourself snapping back at someone only to regret it moments later? Why do we sometimes react in ways that feel out of alignment with who we really are? The answer doesn't lie in the situation itself, but in the tiny space between the event and your reaction. In that fleeting moment, barely a breath, there is a choice, a space where your awareness lives, a space where freedom is born. Meet Samir, a young employee at a fast-paced company. Every time his manager gave him feedback, he felt attacked. A simple comment about a missed detail triggered a storm inside, defensiveness, anger, even self-doubt. His reactions were fast, automatic, and often left him feeling ashamed or misunderstood. One day, he stumbled across a simple yet powerful line. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose. In our choice lies our growth and our freedom. That quote stopped him. What if, instead of reacting on autopilot, he paused just for a second? So the next time his manager pointed out a mistake, Samir took a slow breath. He noticed the heat rising in his chest, the urge to defend himself, but this time he didn't speak right away. He waited. That 1 second changed everything. His response was calm, grounded, even curious. And surprisingly, the conversation didn't turn into a battle. It became a bridge. This is the real gift of awareness. When you learn to live in that space, you're no longer a puppet to your emotions. You become the observer, the conscious creator of your life, not just a reactor to it. Most people don't know this space exists, but it does. And the more you practice pausing, breathing, and becoming aware, that space grows wider. And with it, your life transforms. Not because the world changes, but because you do. So next time something triggers you, don't ask, "What's wrong with them?" Ask instead, "What space can I create right now to choose a better me?" And in that moment, you'll find your power. Chapter 4. Smile in the storm, choosing joy in chaos. Have you ever looked at someone who smiles despite their life falling apart and wondered how? How does someone keep joy alive in the middle of grief, failure, or deep uncertainty? That smile, friend, isn't about ignoring pain. It's about mastering perspective. Let's walk with Maya. She just lost her job, her savings were drying up, and her relationship ended all in the same month. Her world, as she knew it, crumbled. For days, she drowned in despair. The weight of what had gone wrong felt unbearable. But then, during a walk in the rain, she noticed something strange. Children laughing and dancing under the stormy sky. No umbrella, no complaints, just play. And it hit her. The storm didn't stop the children from smiling because they didn't believe the storm was supposed to ruin the day. That moment cracked something open in Maya. She realized most of her suffering wasn't from the events themselves, but from her belief that things shouldn't have gone this way. She was resisting reality, arguing with what is. So she let go, not of ambition or healing, but of control.
She began to practice gratitude, not for what was gone, but for what remained. She smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because she chose not to let the storm steal her inner sun. Here lies the secret. Joy isn't the absence of pain. It's the presence of meaning. It's the decision to hold your light, even when the world gets dark. You can grieve and still smile. You can struggle and still find wonder. You can fall and still bless the ground beneath you. Because joy isn't just an emotion, it's a rebellion, a declaration that your soul is stronger than circumstance. So next time chaos knocks, pause, breathe, smile. Not because life is easy, but because you are rooted in something deeper. That, right there, is freedom. Chapter 5, The Mirror Within. Healing through self-reflection. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like a stranger was staring back at you? Not because your appearance had changed, but because deep down you had changed. Or maybe you've never truly seen yourself at all? Let me tell you about Kareem. Kareem was admired by many. Charming, successful, always the one to make people laugh. But behind the scenes, he battled crushing loneliness. Not the kind solved by being around people, but the kind that comes from being disconnected from yourself. One evening, overwhelmed by a panic attack, Kareem sat on the floor of his apartment, shaking, breathless, exhausted, and something inside him whispered, "You don't need to fix this. You need to face this." So, for the first time, he wrote a letter, not to someone else, but to his own soul. What came out shocked him. Anger, regret, shame, but also long-forgotten dreams, soft memories, and a voice that simply said, "I miss you." You see, we spend so much of life performing for approval, success, or protection that we forget who we are underneath the mask. But healing begins the moment we stop blaming the world and start listening inward. What wounds haven't been given a voice? What parts of you have been exiled in the name of strength? Reflection is not about judgment. It's about returning. It's about sitting with your shadows long enough that they begin to feel seen, and in that seeing, they soften. Kareem didn't become perfect after that night, but he began showing up differently. He started setting boundaries, speaking honestly, and doing things not because they impressed others, but because they nourished him. He found, as you will, that self-reflection is not a detour on the healing journey. It is the path. When you dare to look inside without flinching, you begin to reintroduce yourself to someone extraordinary, the real you. And once you truly see yourself, you'll never settle for being unseen again. So tonight, find a quiet corner. Ask your soul, what have you been trying to tell me? Then listen, because your greatest teacher has been waiting for you all along.
Chapter 6. Break the loop. End the cycle of self-sabotage. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a loop, repeating the same painful patterns? Different faces, different places, but the same emotional endings? It's as if you're running in circles, but the circle is drawn inside your mind. Meet Layla. Every time she got close to success, she'd pull away. Every time someone loved her deeply, she'd find a reason to leave. She wanted love. She wanted success. But something within her whispered, "You don't deserve this."
Layla didn't realize she was living inside a loop of unworthiness, a silent belief inherited from childhood, shaped by wounds she never addressed. And like so many of us, she didn't see the loop as a pattern. She saw it as life just not working out. But here's the truth. Most of your limitations aren't real. They're repeated. They're internal scripts formed by trauma, fear, and self-doubt. And unless rewritten, they control your story. The way out? You must interrupt the cycle, not with force, but with awareness. The next time you catch yourself pulling away from something good, ask, am I protecting myself or punishing myself? You see, self-sabotage is often just self-protection in disguise. It's your nervous system clinging to familiarity, even if that familiarity is painful. But safety doesn't come from staying small. It comes from building trust with yourself. That means choosing the harder path, the one where you stay, even when it's scary, where you speak, even when your voice shakes, where you receive, even when your old self screams, you are not worthy. Layla began breaking her loop by journaling every time she felt the urge to run. She tracked the triggers. She listened to her fear. And slowly, she rewrote her story. You can too. Remember, you are not broken. You are patterned. And patterns can be reprogrammed. So the next time you're standing at the edge of the same old mistake, pause. Don't run. Choose different. Because every loop has a door, and the key is always awareness. Chapter 7. Embrace discomfort. Your pain is the path. Have you ever considered that the very pain you keep running from might be the exact thing you need to heal and grow? Pain isn't your enemy. Your resistance to pain is. The avoidance, the constant numbing, the refusal to sit with discomfort and listen to what it's trying to teach you. Take Sommer, for instance. He was terrified of being alone, so he filled every hour of his day with noise. Endless meetings, screen time, constant conversation. But every night, when the world fell quiet, something deeper stirred inside him, a whisper of loneliness he had buried under layers of distraction. One day, exhausted by the facade, he sat in silence and let it come. The ache, the sadness, the emptiness, and something miraculous happened. Not instantly, but gradually. Instead of drowning in it, he began to float. By sitting with his pain instead of running, he found clarity. He uncovered wounds from his past he'd never addressed. He realized his need for external validation came from never feeling good enough as a child. He finally heard his soul. This is what the mountain teaches us. Healing requires confrontation, not escape. Every time we resist pain, we give it power. But when we face it with compassion and presence, it transforms. Pain is not punishment. Pain is a portal to your truth, to your strength, to your transformation. The next time discomfort rises, don't run. Breathe. Sit with it. Ask it, what do you want me to know? That's where your journey begins. Are you brave enough to feel it? Chapter 8. The mirror of your mind, changing the narrative within. What if the loudest voice sabotaging your life was your own? Not the external critics, not the societal expectations, but the quiet, consistent whisper of your internal dialogue. The one that says, you're not enough, or you'll always fail, or this is just who you are. Here's the truth. Your thoughts shape your reality, and most of the time, they're not even your own. From childhood, we absorb stories about love, success, worth, and identity. We inherit beliefs from our parents, teachers, friends, and culture. Slowly, they become the lens through which we see the world and ourselves. But what happens when that lens is cracked? Maya believes she wasn't creative. Her parents told her she was too logical. Her teachers praised her math, not her poetry. So she shelved her dreams of writing for years, until one day she stumbled upon an old notebook filled with her childhood stories. She read them with new eyes and wept, because deep down her soul had always known what her mind had been trained to deny. We all have a Maya inside us, gifts silenced, dreams delayed, truths denied. The real transformation begins not with action, but with awareness. Start by listening, truly listening. What is the voice in your head saying? Who does it sound like? Does it empower you or limit you? Then challenge it. Write a new script. Instead of "I always mess things up," try "I'm learning and mistakes are part of my growth." Instead of "I'm not lovable," whisper "I am worthy of love just as I am." It may feel unnatural at first, but every powerful change starts with a single shift in belief. Your mind is a mirror. Clean it from old dust, and you'll begin to see your reflection clearly. So ask yourself, if you spoke to others the way you speak to yourself, would they feel safe or shattered? The dialogue within is the foundation of the life you build. Make it a sanctuary, not a prison. Chapter 9. Pain is not the enemy. It's the doorway. What if your pain wasn't trying to punish you, but awaken you? We've been taught to run from pain, to numb it, ignore it, hide it under busyness or blame. But what if pain is the soul's way of knocking gently, then louder, then screaming, just to be heard? Think of pain as a message, a signal from within that something needs your attention, not to destroy you, but to bring you home. Emma was always cheerful, always helpful, the kind of person everyone leaned on, but she had no one to lean on: herself. Years of holding in her sadness, her disappointments, her resentments, until one morning she couldn't get out of bed. Her body had said what her voice couldn't. Only in that stillness, in that forced pause, did she finally ask, "What have I been hiding from?" Pain often arrives when we've gone too long without listening to ourselves. Your anxiety might be saying, "I'm living out of alignment." Your sadness might be whispering, "You've abandoned your dreams." Your anger might be shouting, "This boundary has been crossed one too many times." The invitation is not to drown in these emotions, but to sit with them, to be brave enough to feel, and then to heal.
Because every unprocessed emotion becomes a weight you carry, and healing is simply putting those weights down one by one. In truth, pain is a compass. It points you toward the parts of yourself that are calling out for care, compassion, and change. So instead of asking, "How do I make this pain go away?" ask, "What is this pain trying to teach me?" Therein lies the transformation. Pain is not the enemy. Avoiding it is. Because on the other side of pain is freedom and a version of you waiting to rise, lighter and wiser. Chapter 10. Rewrite your story. You are not your past. What if your story wasn't written in stone, but still being crafted with every choice you make? We often live trapped in old identities, stories built from pain, rejection, failure, or trauma. Like haunted houses, we keep walking the same halls, reliving the same narratives. I'm not enough. I always mess things up. No one ever stays. I'll never change. But here's the truth. You are not your story. You are the storyteller. Just because something hurt you doesn't mean it defines you. Just because you've made mistakes doesn't mean you're broken. Just because you've been a certain way doesn't mean you must remain that way. Every day offers a blank page. Layla grew up hearing she was too emotional, too sensitive, too much. So she shrunk herself, emotionally and even physically. She took up less and less space in every room she entered. But one moment of deep reflection, sitting by the sea, she asked herself, what if being too much was my superpower, not my flaw? That question changed everything. She began showing up differently, not louder, but fuller, owning her emotions as strength, setting new boundaries, forgiving old hurts, speaking kinder to herself. Your past is a chapter, not the whole book. You can honor what happened without staying trapped in it. You can thank the pain for its lessons without keeping it as your identity. You can be both the survivor of your story and the author of its next act. So today, dare to rewrite the script. Instead of "I'm not lovable," say, "I'm learning to love myself deeply." Instead of "I always fail," try, "Every setback prepares me for something better." Because the words you speak, especially to yourself, shape the world you live in. What story will you choose from this moment forward? The pen is in your hand. Write something bold, something beautiful, something true. Chapter 11. Letting Go to Rise. The Power of Surrender. What if holding on is what's truly holding you back? We carry so much: old pain, broken dreams, unspoken anger, the pressure to be perfect, the fear of being misunderstood. Our hands, hearts, and minds are full, and yet we wonder why we can't move forward. Here's a gentle truth: you cannot rise if you are weighed down. Imagine a hot air balloon trying to ascend with sandbags tied tightly to its sides. No matter how much fire it fuels, it stays stuck until it lets go. Letting go is not weakness. It's strength in its purest, most courageous form. It means saying, "I no longer need to control what isn't mine. I release the version of me that survived but no longer serves. I forgive, not because they deserve it, but because I do." Noor once held on tightly to a dream that no longer aligned with who she was. It made her anxious, drained, resentful. But it was her identity, her plan. Letting it go felt like failure until she did. And then she felt something she hadn't felt in years: freedom, space, possibility. When we release, we create room for peace, for healing, for rebirth. But surrender is not passive. It's the quiet courage to trust that life may know more than we do. It's choosing presence over control, flow over force, faith over fear. So ask yourself, what are you clinging to that no longer serves your growth? What belief, memory, or expectation is anchoring you when you were born to fly? Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means honoring without clinging. You are allowed to loosen your grip. You are allowed to breathe again. You are allowed to begin anew. Because the life you want isn't hiding in what you're holding on to. It's waiting in what you're brave enough to release. Chapter 12. Rebuilding from within, becoming your own safe place. What if the home you've been searching for is you? Many of us move through life looking for safety in people, places, achievements, or possessions. We think, once I'm loved, or once I'm successful, or once I'm finally understood, then I'll feel whole. But time and time again, the ground shifts beneath us. Relationships change, titles fade, certainty crumbles, and we're left wondering, where do I go now? The truth is, no external validation can replace the inner sanctuary you build for yourself. To become your own safe place means you learn to sit with your pain without abandoning yourself. It means you speak gently to your inner wounds instead of silencing them. It means your self-worth is no longer up for negotiation based on how the world sees you. Consider Layla, who always relied on her partner to make her feel enough. The moment they left, she unraveled because her sense of value had never come from within. But when she chose to rebuild, not from a place of needing someone else, but from knowing herself, everything changed. She found peace, not because the world stopped hurting, but because she stopped outsourcing her healing. Rebuilding from within doesn't mean you isolate yourself. It means you become so rooted in self-trust that no storm can uproot you. You begin to ask, what does my inner child need right now? How can I show up for myself in ways I never was shown before? Where have I neglected my own heart in pursuit of someone else's approval? Every step you take towards self-responsibility becomes an act of liberation. Every time you soothe your own anxiety, you reclaim power. Every boundary you set becomes a brick in the foundation of your inner home. And slowly you realize you are not broken. You were just never taught how to be whole on your own. But now you are learning. Now you are remembering. Now you are returning to yourself. And that is the greatest homecoming of all. Chapter 13. The Art of Letting Go, Releasing the Person You Were. What if the version of you that's struggling isn't meant to survive this transformation? There comes a time in every healing journey when we realize we are still carrying versions of ourselves that no longer serve us. We cling to identities forged in survival, people-pleaser, perfectionist, overthinker, as if they are shields that will keep us safe, but in truth, they are weights. Letting go isn't an act of abandonment. It's an act of honoring who you've become. Imagine a snake trying to grow without shedding its skin. Imagine a butterfly refusing to leave the cocoon because it was once a place of safety. That's what happens when we resist our evolution. There is grief in letting go, not just of people or memories, but of the roles you've played to be loved, accepted, or needed. You might miss the version of you who always said yes, even when it hurt. You might feel nostalgic for the identity that once kept you grounded, even if it was built on fear. But growth demands a release. Consider Daniel. For years, he was the strong one, the provider, the one who always had it together.
But behind closed doors, he was exhausted and angry. The role he played was no longer sustainable. And one day, he looked in the mirror and said, "I'm allowed to put the armor down." That was the beginning of his freedom. Letting go isn't a betrayal of who you were. It's a celebration of who you're becoming. It's saying, "Thank you for helping me survive, but I'm ready to live now." And sometimes the hardest part isn't releasing someone else. It's releasing yourself. You are not the pain you endured. You are not the stories others wrote about you. You are not the mistakes you made while learning how to be human. You are the space between breaths. You are the awareness that watches it all unfold. You are the soul that has always been whispering, "There is more." So let the old self fall away. Let the masks dissolve. Let the fear speak its piece, and then watch it drift, because on the other side of letting go is lightness, is peace, is the truest version of you waiting with open arms. And they've been waiting for a long, long time.
Chapter 14. Becoming the Mountain, Embracing Your Highest Self. What if the obstacle in front of you is actually the path to who you were always meant to be? At the end of every storm, there is silence. At the top of every mountain, there is clarity. And at the end of every inner battle, there is you, raw, real, and reborn. Becoming the mountain isn't about becoming invincible. It's about becoming anchored, rooted in truth, grounded in love, immovable in purpose. You don't climb the mountain to escape your pain. You climb it to meet yourself on higher ground. There you don't react from fear. You respond from wisdom. You don't chase validation. You radiate presence. You don't seek control. You trust the flow. The mountain isn't a destination, it's a return to the version of you who was never broken, only buried. Every time you choose self-respect over people-pleasing, you rise. Every time you speak your truth instead of silencing yourself, you rise. Every time you create instead of compare, love instead of resent, forgive instead of punish, you rise. And the higher you go, the quieter it gets, because peace is loud enough to drown out every lie you once believed about who you are. Picture it. You, standing tall, shoulders relaxed, heart open, eyes clear, no longer needing to prove your worth, no longer bound by guilt or shame, no longer waiting for the world to give you permission. You are the permission. You are the peace. You are the power you once sought outside yourself. You are the mountain. And every version of you that ever doubted it has finally found its home.